The night Marcus confessed his feelings to his first love, I engineered a way into his bed. Afterward, I used the child to force his hand into a relationship with me. From then on, I moved into the estate, but he never mentioned marriage. On the day of Liam's 5th birthday celebration, he suddenly arranged to meet me outside City Hall. He even specifically told me to wear my favorite wedding gown, saying he wanted to see it. When I arrived, he reached out to David and Mark behind him, and the words he spoke were ice cold. A bet, each person owed $10,000. I told you she'd definitely come in her wedding gown, she's desperate to marry me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have exploited his drunkenness 5 years ago, then used the child to force his hand. Those guys called me pathetic, claiming I made them lose the bet. I remained silent, and Marcus's face darkened. I'm marrying Sarah soon. Since you're the child's mother, nanny after I get married. David and Mark all agreed, saying a nanny at the estate my whole life than marry anyone else. But I turned and went inside to get married to someone else, and Marcus wouldn't let go of me. Subscribe to our channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. The men reluctantly opened their phones and sent Marcus transfers. Grace, what's wrong with you? After all these years, if Marcus wanted to marry you, would he wait until now? Exactly. You've made me lose again and again. Why don't you ever learn? Only then did I realize that today, Marcus was using me as a wager again. The ones who lost the bet were all his friends, and they all knew me. They knew that for 5 years, I had been by his side, yet I remained only the mother of his child, never Mrs. Hayes. So, they could mock me without restraint, without caring about my feelings. Because simply didn't care. I held back my tears, trying hard to control my trembling body. Marcus scoffed. It was just a joke, and you took it seriously. It's Liam's birthday today, go home and cook. With that, he turned and waved to the men. Come to my place tonight. A fine French just arrived, she can open it for us. The group instantly shed their gloom from losing the bet and cheered, long live Marcus. I clenched my skirt tightly, stubbornly refusing to say a word. Marcus saw I wasn't moving and grew impatient. Still not leaving? You don't actually think I'm going to marry you, do you? You know Sarah's back, and we're getting married soon. She doesn't mind you and Liam's presence. Since you're the child's mother, nanny after we get married. Last month, Sarah returned from overseas, and Marcus hosted a party at home. In front of everyone, he held Sarah's hand and said, "The 5 years we missed are our shared regret. From now on, we'll cherish each other even more, looking forward to countless more 5-year periods together." Many people present were moved to tears by his words, and Sarah, in particular, burst into sobs in his arms. I was carrying a fruit platter, momentarily distracted, missed a step, and fell down the stairs, ending up bruised and battered. At that moment, I suddenly felt completely disheartened. I wanted to cry but had no tears left. Even now, hearing him say that, my heart still ached. But I didn't beg him to marry me again. Instead, I smiled faintly. Excuse me, but I am indeed getting married today, just not to you. ####2 Marcus smirked, as if he'd heard a joke. Grace, how many tricks have you tried these past 5 years? How many people have you sent to persuade me? Have you ever seen me waver? You should recognize your place. My fiancée is Sarah, she always has been, she is now, and she always will be. If this were before, I would have broken down crying, pulling strings and exerting pressure through connections to force him to separate from Sarah. But today, I took a deep breath, suppressing the bitterness in my heart, forcing myself to face him calmly. Just as I was about to speak, the man shoved me aside, looking disdainful. What if the Vance family is rich? Marcus only has Sarah in his heart. You nanny. Putting on airs will only make you suffer. You even had Marcus's child, who would want you now? Waiting for someone else? I bet you'd rather be a housekeeper. My nails dug into my palms as I gritted my teeth, enduring the humiliation. That night 5 years ago, I got a message that Marcus was going to confess his feelings to Sarah at the Hyatt. Back then, I was madly in love with Marcus, and in a panic, I rushed to the Hyatt that very night. When I arrived, Sarah wasn't there. I tricked and coerced Marcus into drinking too much, then drank a whole bottle of liquor myself. The next morning, I woke up naked with him in a king-sized bed. What happened last night was unspoken. Because of this incident, Sarah immediately cut ties with Marcus and went overseas. Not long after, I discovered I was pregnant. My parents didn't want me to be mistreated and continuously pressured the estate. They offered a substantial investment to save their company, forcing him to be with me. He eventually compromised but still never mentioned marriage. At the time, I even thought it didn't matter if he didn't love me, I could love him a little more. I'd love him so much he couldn't leave me, and then he'd marry me, especially since we had a child. But I was wrong. If he didn't have me in his heart, how could he ever be unable to leave me? Shaking my head with a bitter smile, I silently cursed myself. Grace, you've already decided to marry someone else, why dwell on these thoughts? Seeing me like this, Marcus frowned, a hint of displeasure on his face. Sarah will be here soon. Don't let her see you like this, use the back door. In his eyes, Sarah couldn't suffer even the slightest grievance. I was merely a wager for him when he was bored. Uncharacteristically, I didn't follow his instruction to go out the back door. Instead, I walked around them and edged toward the city hall lobby. Marcus grabbed my arm, obvious anger in his eyes. That's enough. Are you going to keep up this act? Or are you going to get Edward and Eleanor to force my hand again? Hashtag 3 Marcus. Sarah appeared. She was radiant, noble, and graceful. No beautiful word was too much for her. In contrast, after 5 years of hardship, I had long since lost my vibrancy. Seeing approach, Marcus immediately threw me aside and brushed his hands together, as if afraid my dirt would contaminate his goddess. The look he gave Sarah was one of tenderness and affection I had never witnessed before. Something inside me was tugged, leaving me breathless. I didn't want to prolong the entanglement, so I turned to leave, but Sarah stopped me. I know you've loved Marcus for many years, but you should understand that love isn't about who gets there first. And don't try any more tricks to get Edward and Eleanor to pressure Marcus. That will only make us look down on you even more. Marcus saw her reaction and nervously explained, Sarah, believe me, I'm not marrying her. Today is just a coincidence. Despite being mentally prepared, hearing those words still sent pangs of pain through my heart. I bit my lower lip, refusing to show my embarrassment in front of him. After steadying myself, I spoke coldly, I am indeed here to get married today. Believe it or not, that's up to you. Before could speak, David and Mark began to clamor, married? Where's the groom? Who are you trying to fool? You're so manipulative, no wonder Marcus was always falling for your tricks. We've known you for years, who else have you liked besides Marcus? You don't need to lie so elaborately just to save face. Marcus suddenly spoke up to stop them, alright, that's enough. Let her go home, Liam is still there. Just when I thought he might feel a trace of sympathy for me, the contempt in his next words plunged my heart into an ice-cold abyss. A woman like her will never marry anyone else in this life. She could never bear to leave me. For 5 years, I had humbled myself to dust for his love. I was so submissive it was as if I owed him everything. I remember once, while cleaning, I accidentally dropped and shattered a crystal globe. The shards cut my palm, and blood flowed freely. Marcus rushed over anxiously, but then carefully picked up the scattered pieces, heartbroken for it. He roared at me, who gave you permission to touch the crystal globe? This is a memento of their affection Sarah gave me. Get out. Ignoring my own pain, I knelt and begged him not to send me away. Finally, 3-year-old Liam was scared and cried, so I picked him up to comfort him. He cradled the shards and walked out of the room, his steps heavy. He said I had shattered his dream, and I could stay, but he would never forgive me. Thinking back now, I just felt foolish. He didn't just not love me, he clearly hated me. He hated me for breaking him and Sarah apart, hated me for ruining his most beautiful dream. My phone's urgent ringtone broke my thoughts, and under the gaze of everyone present, I answered the call. I have my ID and household register. Window 8, right? Okay. Hashtag 4 Today was indeed the day I was getting married, and my fiancé was chosen by Edward and Eleanor. They said I had wasted 5 years and it was time to wake up. I nodded, agreeing. Since I couldn't marry for love, it didn't matter whom I married. He was chosen by my parents, at least they know his background, and they would never harm me. Knowing it was Liam's 5th birthday celebration, my fiancé and Edward and Eleanor discussed it and decided to get married today. He said Liam had never had a birthday party, and he would host one. After we got married, we would go directly to the hotel. He also wanted me to wear the wedding gown he sent me, saying it was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and it deserved to be memorialized. That was him on the phone just now, telling me he was waiting at window 8. Boo. As I started to walk, Marcus reached out and stopped me again. If you keep this up, I'll really get angry. Go home and cook for Liam now. Sarah was just as impolite. 5 years, and you're still the same. No wonder Marcus dislikes you. I sighed, took out a wedding invitation from my bag, and waved it in front of them. I don't have time to talk much more with you. My wedding is scheduled for the 2nd week of the month. Those who wish to attend are welcome. Marcus didn't even glance at the wedding invitation before tossing it into the trash. But Mark noticed something was amiss. The Sterling alliance, a wedding at the Manor. Could it be the Sterling family, the wealthiest in the region? I heard the Manor is a Sterling property. This can't be real, can it? Grace marrying Ethan, the wealthiest man? I just can't believe it. Hearing this, Marcus imperceptibly flared his nostrils, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Who doesn't know Liam is my son? Vance may be wealthy, but they're nowhere near the wealthiest man's fortune. Would he marry a woman who has already had a child? The remaining men suddenly understood, nodding in agreement and saying I was daydreaming. Seeing's expression, Sarah deliberately stood between us, separating him and me. Then, pretending to consider my welfare, she said, if you want to marry, Marcus and I won't stop you, but Liam is a Hayes by blood. You can't take him. It wouldn't look good for you to marry with a child, anyway. She was always like this, speaking the kindest words, but hiding the sharpest knives within them, yet still thought she was understanding and reasonable. Sure enough, he immediately chimed in, exactly. You can't take Liam. He's my son, he can't call anyone else dad. ####5 I laughed. In these 5 years, have you ever eaten a meal with Liam? Do you know where he goes to Liam's preschool? Have you ever told him a bedtime story? Even today, on his birthday, you didn't prepare a gift, and you invited this people to drink at home. Is that how you act as a father? Liam is the child I carried for 10 months. I couldn't possibly stay at the estate. He is my life. Marcus knew this, which was why he understood how to manipulate me into compromising. He's the product of you exploiting my drunkenness. Do you expect me to love him? But no matter what, he's my son, and you can't take him. I looked at him in disbelief, then raised my hand and slapped him. You're shameless. 8 years ago, I accidentally tripped and sprained my ankle while crossing the street. The bright and handsome young man who had disregarded traffic to pick me up and run was gone. If he didn't love me, why wouldn't he just let me go? Why did he insist on tormenting me? How had he become like this? I was trembling with rage, my back teeth almost shattering from clenching. Marcus's head was tilted to the side, he didn't react for a long time. Sarah gasped, reached out to touch his face, then turned to glare at me. How could you hit someone? You're so barbaric. David and Mark were even angrier, surrounding me and yelling. Don't you know how you got pregnant? That's a stain on Marcus's life. It was Marcus's mercy that allowed you to even have the child. Marcus is right. If you want to marry, then marry, but Liam is Marcus's child, why should you take him? I really want to beat a scheming woman like you. Sarah's face was full of anger. If you won't hit her, I will. I'm going to get revenge for Marcus. With that, she raised her hand to strike my face. Just then, Marcus gripped her wrist, blocking the descending slap. Meanwhile, another person suddenly pulled me into his arms. Honey, are you all right? I looked up to see my fiancé gazing at me, his eyes shining. I shook my head, standing steady. Let's go, let's register our marriage. Marcus, eyes red, rushed over and grabbed my arm. How long are you going to keep this up? Can you stop being so embarrassing? My fiancé pried Marcus's hand off me, pulled out the DNA paternity test results from his bag, and flung them at Marcus. Liam has absolutely nothing to do with you. He's my son. I've already taken him to the Manor. From now on, please don't bother my wife and child anymore. Marcus frantically flipped through the papers, and when he saw the result on the last line, his hand went limp, the report fluttered to the ground, and he said, his face pale as a sheet, no, it can't be. How could Liam not be my child? ###6 Ignoring the group, Ethan took my hand and led me towards window 8. The moment the red stamp fell, I realized I was married. He had hired 3 photographers to capture our every moment. You only get married once in a lifetime, of course I want to capture every single moment of yours. I suddenly remembered his words, and my face felt warm. I unconsciously lowered my head, tracing the marriage certificate in my hand. The photographer specializing in portraits ran over, grinning. You two are the most beautiful bride and groom I've ever photographed. Look at these pictures, I want to display them in my studio. Ethan and I leaned in to look together, accidentally bumping heads. Just as things got awkward, Marcus's voice cut through. Grace, what kind of trick are you pulling now? Do you have so much money you don't know what to do with it, hiring all these people to put on a show for you? He always wore that arrogant expression whenever he was in front of me. If it were before, I would have begged him not to be angry. Now, I didn't even want to acknowledge him, but to their group, my silence just meant I was guilty. Stop pretending. It wasn't easy to find an extra who looks like Ethan, was it? How much do they pay him a day? And a paternity test? Who are you trying to fool? I don't believe you'd ever leave Marcus. What's the point of these antics? Marcus only has Sarah in his heart. It's just getting married, isn't it? Marcus and Sarah will get married right here for you to see. I looked over to see a mix of triumph and indignation on Sarah's face. After all, Marcus hadn't said he was marrying her today. Are you questioning my identity? Ethan's clear, cool voice sounded above me. He wrapped one arm around my waist and pulled out his phone with the other. Send a few cars. My wife has some friends who'd like to attend the young master's birthday party. A flicker of panic crossed Marcus's eyes, but he still stubbornly retorted, Liam is my son, Grace. I don't know what kind of trick you're pulling, but if you admit your mistake now and come back with me, I might still forgive you. I stopped Ethan, thinking it was better if I clarified some things myself. I pulled out my marriage certificate, unfolded it, and held it up to Marcus's face. Do you see this clearly? I'm married. You're the one making a scene. The marriage certificate was issued right behind me at window 8. If you don't believe me, you can go ask. ####7. The whole group froze, but Sarah was the first to react. So, we should congratulate Grace. I can't believe you lived at the estate for 5 years and still found such a tall, handsome husband. I wasn't blind to the jealousy in her eyes. Her words were perfectly polite, but the provocative intent was clear. It was simply meant to tell Ethan that Marcus and I had lived together for 5 years, and I was already tainted. If anyone had said that before, I wouldn't have bothered to explain, practically hoping they would misunderstand us. But now, I smiled, ignoring Sarah, and looked at Marcus. For these past 5 years, I left my own mansion to live in your staff quarters at the estate, making my son sleep in that tiny space with me. Nanny? Last night, when I moved out of the estate, Edward and Eleanor cried, heartbroken. They simply couldn't understand why I had put myself through so much for so many years. Only I knew in my heart that I was paying the price for that youthful encounter. The dream was over, everything should returned to its proper place. Marcus was still staring at my marriage certificate, as if he hadn't heard anything we'd just said. I'm going to the manor right now. You've told such a huge lie. I want to see how you're going to deal with this. I looked up at Ethan, feeling a little uneasy. He firmly took my hand and walked to the line of Rolls-Royce already waiting by the entrance. After settling me into the first car, he turned and spoke to the dumbfounded group. Since you are my wife's friends, I'll make an exception and let you enter the manor today, but this is a one-time offer. Everyone knew the manor was the private property of the Sterling family, the wealthiest in the region. Forget Hayes, even my Vance family, which controlled a significant portion of the city's economy, couldn't get in without an invitation. It was even less likely for these people accompanying Marcus to ever have the chance to enter such an exclusive place. They stirred restlessly, wanting to get into the cars, but fearing Marcus's disapproval, they resorted to sarcasm. Marcus, Grace spent all this money to put on such a grand show just to provoke you. Aren't you going to personally expose her hypocrisy? Exactly. When we get there, we won't be able to get in, or that man won't be from the Sterling family at all. Then we'll listen to you even more. And, Marcus, shouldn't you go see your son with your own eyes? Are you just going to let them take him away like that? Seeing this, Sarah gently shook Marcus's arm, cooing sweetly, Marcus, we've never been to the manor. Why don't we just take a look? If it really is Liam's birthday party, as his father, you really should attend. I grew a little impatient and told the driver to start the car. I had already wasted 5 years on this undeserving person. I didn't want to waste any more time. Just as the driver was about to start the engine, Marcus gritted his teeth and yelled, get in the car. ####8 was sitting beside me. I felt a little uneasy. He seemed to sense my apprehension and gently squeezed my palm. Don't be afraid. I'm here for you. I took a deep breath, then summoned the courage to ask the question that had been weighing on my mind. You didn't have to stick your neck out for me and create a fake paternity test, did you? Or is there another reason? For a prominent family like the Sterlings to be interested in someone of my background was already unbelievable. How could they allow me to marry into their family with a child? Unless he wanted to silence the older members of the Sterling family, making them believe the child was of Sterling blood. Only then would they treat my son and me well. Ethan shook his head. It's not a fake report, he really is my son. Do you have no memory of me at all? I stared at his face for a long time, as if remembering something. That night 5 years ago, after receiving the message, I rushed to the Hyatt. After getting Marcus and myself drunk, I lay in a king-sized bed. After that, I didn't remember what happened. But now, with Ethan's face so close, It was as if I was transported back to that night. While I was half asleep, Marcus was holding me, calling out Sarah's name. He reached out to undress me, but I struggled free. I still couldn't overcome that mental barrier. I couldn't accept him making love to me while thinking I was someone else. After pushing him away, I fled the room, only to crash into a firm chest. For some reason, my whole body was burning, and all I wanted was to hold on to him and not let go. He lifted me into his arms and carried me into a room. I remembered completely, the person with me that night was Ethan. But why, then, did I wake up the next morning to find Marcus lying beside me? Hearing my account, Ethan also frowned. After that night, I received an urgent call early in the morning about some business I needed to handle. I planned to come back for you after I was done. But when I returned, the hotel staff said you had already checked out. I searched for you for 5 years, and finally, I've found you. He also realized that this matter wasn't so simple. As we were discussing it, the car stopped. We had arrived at the Manor. Marcus moved even faster than me. He quickly got out of his car, rushed to my car door, and pulled me out. Before I could even steady myself, he pulled me inside. Let's see how long you're going to keep up this act. ####9 Let go of me. I forcefully shook off Marcus's hand. I am Mrs. Sterling now. Your girlfriend is over there. Please respect yourself. Ethan waved his hand, and several bodyguards stepped forward to restrain him. I assumed you were my wife's friend, which is why I've been so polite to you. It seems you don't understand what respect means. So, you can go in like this, lest you harm my wife again. Marcus was restrained, unable to break free, and anger flashed in his eyes. Grace, don't think I'll easily forgive you for what happened today. I linked my arm through Ethan's and softly replied, let's go in. I miss my son. He nodded and led me into the Manor. People standing on both sides bowed to us. Good day, Mr. Sterling. Good day, Mrs. Sterling. Staff brought refreshing towels and mints for us to cleanse our hands and mouths. After all that, Ethan took my hand and walked towards the main hall. Without turning back, I could still imagine the priceless expressions on the faces of those behind us. I could even hear their hushed whispers. Sarah's voice was particularly grating. They really got in. So's husband is actually Ethan, the wealthiest man? How did she get so lucky? This time, David and Mark had changed their tune. She should be called Mrs. Sterling now. My dad is an executive at a Sterling subsidiary. I'll have to apologize to her in a bit. I used to think the Vance family was rich, supporting Marcus for so long. But today I realized the Sterling family is the real old money. My eyes have truly been opened. No wonder she's not clinging to Marcus anymore. Anyone would choose the wealthiest man. And as the wealthiest man's only son, she's really climbed the ladder. Seeing that we were almost at the main hall, Marcus couldn't stand it anymore. That's enough. Stop talking. Grace, if you turn back now, I'll forgive you. But if you insist on going in, I'll never see you again in this lifetime. Ethan's grip on my hand suddenly tightened, as if he wanted to hold me firm, afraid I might run away. I stopped, gave him a faint smile, then turned to Marcus and said coldly, as you wish. After today, we will never see each other again. With that, I placed my hand back into Ethan's, and together we stepped into the main hall. A few seconds later, Marcus's agitated voice came from behind us. Grace, don't you dare regret this. Even if you come pleading me in the future, I still won't forgive you. I saw Edward and Eleanor and Liam waving at me. The insignificant people no longer stirred any ripples in my heart. ###10 In the center of the hall was a grand crystal stage. Displayed on it were photos of Liam, as well as the pictures Ethan and I had just taken at City Hall. They had been enlarged, framed, and displayed so quickly. Marcus was being restrained by bodyguards, unable to move freely. When he saw Edward and Eleanor and Liam, he froze. You're really here. Edward and Eleanor didn't want to speak to him. After all, they knew exactly what I had been through these past 5 years. It seemed that only now did Marcus truly believe that none of this was an act. He yelled Liam's name with all his might. Son, come to dad. I'm your dad. Don't you want your dad anymore? Liam was still just a child, and he had been happily waiting for his birthday party. Seeing such a scene suddenly, he became scared. He let out a wail and ran crying towards me. To my surprise, he didn't resist Ethan's embrace. Instead, he hugged Ethan and, in a soft, sweet voice, asked him, Edward and Eleanor said you're why real dad? Is that true? Will you take me to the amusement park, tell me bedtime stories, and let me sleep in a king-sized bed? I suddenly felt a pang of sadness. In the end, I had wronged Liam these past 5 years. Ethan hugged Liam tightly, a glimmer in his eyes. Yes, I am your dad, your only dad. Whatever you need, Dad will do it with you. Liam hugged Ethan's face and kissed his cheek. I like you as a dad. The implication was clear, he didn't like Marcus, but was like a man possessed, roaring and shouting, no. Liam, you're my son. I'm your dad. How can you call someone else dad? Come back, come to me. I truly couldn't understand what Marcus was trying to do. When my son and I lived at the estate, when I loved him with all my heart, he had disregarded us, even hated us for ruining his life. His hatred was so deep, he wished to torment us daily for his amusement. Now I was tired and couldn't love anymore, and even the child didn't want him. Yet he wanted us to come back. Was he doing this to move himself? #11 David and Mark stepped forward to persuade him, saying that making a scene here wasn't appropriate, especially in the wealthiest man's manor. Sarah sensed something was wrong and reached for Marcus's hand. She said to him with tender affection, Marcus, don't be like this. Liam is a sterling child. We'll have our own children in the future. I'll give you 2, no, 3, how about that? Unexpectedly, Marcus shook off her hand. Get away from me. Do you think I didn't know about what happened back then? You're the one who drugged me. I didn't want to be involved with them anymore, but since it concerned that night 5 years ago, I couldn't remain aloof. I immediately turned to face them both. Ethan also sensed something was off. He dismissed the bodyguards, giving Marcus his freedom back. Sarah nervously backed away. Marcus, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I never hurt you. You don't understand? Marcus sneered. You invited me to the hotel, then messaged Grace, luring her there. You wanted her to see us together, to make her give up hope, but she ended up drinking the liquor you drugged. I guarded her for 3 years, yet she still couldn't accept me, pushing me away and spending a night with someone else. How could I tolerate that? I had reminisced before about the young man in my memories, who had cared for me so meticulously. If I merely said I wanted hot dogs, he would ride his bike dozens of miles in the dead of winter night to bring them back to me. Fearing the hot dogs would get cold, he'd keep them warm against his chest, and they would still carry his body heat when he returned. He would also stay up all night learning how to make origami flowers because I envied other girls who received them, toiling for 3 nights to create them for me. When he presented them to me, his eyes were so swollen he could barely open them, yet he smiled and said it was all worth it if I liked them. When did all of this change? I couldn't remember, so I simply stopped trying. Now I understood, from that night 5 years ago, there was no going back for us. I also understood that his 5 years of tormenting me stemmed from his inability to overcome his own emotional barrier. Although I was already relieved, knowing the truth still made me tremble uncontrollably. Ethan put his arm around my shoulder, offering me warmth and strength. I sighed, then looked at Marcus. So you knew Liam wasn't your child all along, but you still refused to let me go. This way, you could not only use my Vance family to save your Hayes company, but also keep me by your side, tormenting my child and me day and night, to vent the hatred in your heart. I suppose that was also why he didn't like Liam. Yes, who could truly treat someone else's child as their own? He panicked, displaying a fear and nervousness I had never seen on his face before. No, I just didn't want you to leave me, Grace. If I truly liked her, I have gone after her in these 5 years. I don't love her at all. She was just an excuse I used, an excuse to make you sick. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Will you come back with me? Bring, and let's live a good life together. #12 Before I could speak, Sarah yanked him away. You never loved me at all? It was all just an act for Grace? Then why did you call me back from overseas? How are you any better than me? You're the one who's always bullied Grace. The crisp sound of a slap. Marcus had struck her. You wretch. You caused all of this. The two of them began to hurl insults, blaming each other, giving me a headache. Have them removed. Today, I just want to happily celebrate my son's birthday. Ethan listened to me and signaled the bodyguards to escort them out. They, along with those cronies, were all thrown out of the manor. Ethan and I went to the changing room to compose ourselves, then returned to the main hall. Liam ran towards us with open arms, and in that moment, I forgot all unpleasantness and all the people not worth remembering. After the banquet officially began, Ethan introduced me to his family. This was something I wouldn't have dared to dream of before. Living under the same roof with Marcus for 5 years, I had only met Edward and Eleanor 3 times. And those times were just for them to reprimand me for not taking good enough care of their son. I didn't know any other relatives from the estate. He never took us to visit elders during holidays either. When I asked him, he would tell me it was unnecessary, invalid socializing. Now I understood, because I was unnecessary, I didn't need to meet his family. But with Ethan, in the eyes of the Sterling family, I was treated like a princess. They respected and cared for me, carefully cherishing Liam and me. After the banquet, I bid farewell to Edward and Eleanor and took Liam back to the Sterling family home. Ethan kept his promise. Every morning, he'd play games with Liam. In the afternoons, he'd take him for a drive. At night, he'd tell him bedtime stories. Even bath time was a father-son affair, and they'd sleep together afterward. Now's attachment to his dad was even deeper than his attachment to me, his mom. One day, Ethan had a conference, so I went to Liam's preschool to pick Liam up. As I walked with Liam to the corner, I ran into someone I didn't want to see. "Grace, are you and Liam doing well? You changed your phone number, and I couldn't find you, so I had to wait here." From the day I got married, he called me countless times every day. He forced me to change my phone number. Who would have thought he'd chase me all the way to Liam's preschool? I told the housekeeper, there were some things I didn't want the child to hear. "Marcus, don't you understand? I am Mrs. Sterling now, Ethan's wife. I am married. No matter how much I loved you before, or how much I wanted to marry you, that's all in the past. We should look forward, not dwell on what was. Sarah did terrible things, she made a lot of mistakes, but deep down, she still loves you. You should give her another chance." I thought I'd made myself clear, but he seemed possessed, grabbing my arms and shaking me. "No. I won't. You're the only one in my heart. I don't love her at all. Why can't you forgive me? You loved me so much, please come back to me, okay? We can have a child of our own, and I'll be good to you and the child." I forcefully pushed him away and stumbled back 3 steps. "Enough, Marcus. Who you love has nothing to do with me anymore. I don't love you anymore, do you understand? We can't go back. Don't ever come looking for me again. We are truly, completely over." With that, I turned and walked away, without a backward glance, knowing there was no turning back. Chapter 11. The crying behind me lasted for a long time. Even as I disappeared at the end of the road, it felt as if I could still hear it. But what did it matter? It had nothing to do with me anymore. 13. The next day, Marcus's cronies found me, lining up neatly to apologize. I knew this was his doing, and I didn't refuse. They certainly owed me an apology. David, Marcus's closest friend, whose father was an executive at a Sterling subsidiary, spoke up. He said, "Marcus called us over last night and got completely drunk. He cried your name for half the night. When he woke up this morning, he said it was all over. He's going to leave here and start a new life. He wanted us to apologize to you, and say sorry on his behalf. We've been such jerks these past 5 years." I nodded and let them go. We all needed to start new lives and stop clinging to the past. Years later, Ethan and I took Liam on a trip overseas. As we passed a beggar, Liam got scared and hid in Ethan's arms. I took a closer look, and he resembled an old acquaintance of mine. Ethan recognized him too, but neither of us said anything. Quietly, I placed 2 $100 bills into the bowl in front of him. Once we were further away, I asked Ethan, his eyes look like he can't see, "Did you notice?" Ethan nodded. "Don't think too much about it," he said. "This is his fate." I wasn't heartbroken for him, merely reflective. Such a bright and handsome young man, reduced to this state. I later learned that after my marriage, Edward and Eleanor had cut off financial support to the estate. Combined with Marcus's mismanagement of the business, he squandered most of the family's assets. With what little money was left, he went overseas, hoping to rebuild his fortune. But con artists took all his money and had his eyes blinded by them. They even took his passport. Unable to return home and unable to see, he could only beg to survive. After hearing all this, I simply smiled. Ethan, however, used his network of connections to resolve the passport issue for him and brought him back to the country. He said, "If it weren't for Marcus, I wouldn't have such a wonderful wife, or such a smart and lovable son. Consider it thanks for bringing us together. From now on, he'll live out his remaining days in assisted living, and we owe him nothing more." I was very grateful to have such a kind and generous husband. Looking at Liam playing soccer on the lawn outside the window, I smiled. "Honey, I want a daughter." Ethan excitedly picked me up and ran toward the bedroom. "What are we waiting for? Let's do it now. God knows how long I've waited to hear you say that. You finally agreed." The sunlight outside streamed onto the bed, draping over his shoulders, like an angel. I wiped the sweat from his forehead and whispered, "An angel is on the way." Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, Please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.